Boom, boom, boom. We're here. I love doing this shit, man. It's so much fun. So much fun. Man, so much to talk about. You know, first thing I started doing show notes, and we're taking this thing way more seriously. So we're having a little team meeting every Monday to get right for the week. We have guests booked out for the next 3 or 4 weeks. Got some, my show notes are simply things, just 1 or 5 words, and I'll just chatty Cathy it up on those. But the first thing I wrote on there is I'm washed. I'm washed. Do you know what I mean? So here's what I mean by that. I don't got the sauce anymore. No more juice over here. No more. My sneezes are louder than ever. I just wear basketball shorts and white t-shirt every day. No one's interested in me. My hair is balding. The things that interest me and that used to interest me no longer interest me. And it's not that I'm washed in life. It's all the young me is gone. The young me is gone. And I'm way less emotionally driven now than ever before. Your boy's washed. No more sauce in the game. No more sauce in the game, which is peaceful. To be honest, but it's a little bit of an ego thing. It's a little bit of an ego thing, man. But it's peaceful, and I would always rather, peace than unnecessary nonsense, and which seems exciting, but it's usually chaos. So I'm happy that things have calmed down, but I definitely don't have the ego fed like I used to. Definitely not, But it's good. It's a good thing because you learn that you don't need it filled up, and then you do things because you like it. I still dress well, and I still care about my appearance, not because I want somebody to say something. It would be fucking nice, but not that I need someone to say anything. I just like to take care of myself. I work out. I don't work out obsessively, 4 days a week, as per Dr. Carly's instructions. 2 days of resistance training, 2 days of cardiovascular training. Got my bike fixed. Gonna take my 10-year-old on bike rides twice a week. Let's go. Fucking dad, bro. I'm a dad, son. I'm out here shaping youth. I'm out here developing little soldiers, boy. Yeah, it's fucking weird, man. It's weird. And the people who I guess the people who knew me from 13 to 21, that was a very small period of my life comparatively to the length of life. So, sometimes I bring myself back there because there were such traumatic times then that I'm brought back there quite often. But that's a trauma response. It's it's hard to move on from certain things. But of course I'm a different person. I'm fucking 30, but then something, because I got sober at 23 and did no growing up in my teen years, did zero growing up. It was all chaos and chaos. It was chaos, no responsibility, just fucking chaos. Jails, institutions, and death. That was what my life was. And it was fun, but there's nothing, that's it. Let's sum it up to what it was. So when I got sober, my 20s, I did all of my adolescence, all of my teenage years in my 20s. All of it. So, I tell people, your 20s is spent fucking people you shouldn't fuck, spending money you don't have, working jobs you shouldn't have, hanging out with people who are not actually that cool, or they're not really your friends. That's what your 20s is figuring out. Figuring out, breaking the dogma that your society teaches you, breaking the dogma that your family teaches you, your institutions, whether it be, some people it's prison, some people it's street life, some people it's religion. Might have said that already. Or political ideology of your family members. Like, oh, I grew up in a super conservative household, and like you have to in your 20s, you realize like, oh, that shit's not me. I'm not fucking. That doesn't align with me. It's interesting. Today I was in a bit of a debate with a family member, and I used to feel bad disagreeing with my family. I used to feel like, okay, and especially my family taught us we have to stick together. We have to stick together. And they have held that end of the bargain up. They have never bailed on me. And I am definitely someone who it's easy to bail on. And they never bailed on me. But now when it comes to ideas and best facts, who has the best facts, I'm okay disagreeing with them and removing my emotion from it. Podcast 3-4 weeks ago, Think Critically. Jesse and Benny podcast, where the main idea of the podcast, the culmination of the hour podcast was think fucking critically, use your mind. And we're not going to emotion ourselves out of the situation we're in the world right now. We're not going to feel our way out. Oh no. And the wokeness is becoming dogma. And for me, I'm such an emotionally driven person. I just don't do my best work when I'm emotionally driven. I do my best work when I may have an emotional catalyst, but then I put my mind to it. At least as an adult, that wasn't always the case. But as 30-year-old Eric in 2020, that's what I do. I feel and then I think. And this is new, so let me not flex like I'm some emotionally secure person. And it's very easy to say when it comes to things outside of yourself. When it's in your household with your wife, your partner, and your children, that's very difficult to do. And I just started doing that with my partner recently. So it's challenging. But this time, I'm going to say this podcast is going to be, well, maybe not, but I'm going to go against the narrative a little bit, because there's a wokeness, there is a groupthink that says that we all have to be kind of, along with the ride. If you're not saying or doing X, Y, and Z, you're not down for the movement. And I think, well, I know for a fact, if you've listened to this podcast from the beginning, I've been about this shit. I've been talking shit about this. So it's not a matter of not being down with the movement. It's a matter of I'm not just, okay, so here, let me get to the point. The point of what I'm saying, here's the overlaying umbrella, is that yes, systemic racism is the problem, but Joe Biden is not going to fix it. Obama couldn't have fixed it, and Trump is definitely not going to fix it. It's not going to be. I can't depend on politicians to bring the truth, reconciliation, and healing that I need, and I believe the Black community needs in order to move forward. I don't think it's which master is going to free me. Which master is going to free me? What would help me is really acknowledging truth and, really having some truth and reconciliation. Really, people saying, damn, this is real. And a lot of people are saying this right now. Damn, this is real. And I didn't truly understand how real it was. And then we move forward in a more proactive way. And when I say proactive, I mean being anti-racist. Like I was at a family thing and this dude was talking about Mexicans. It's like, yo, that's racist, bro. And I wasn't hostile about it because you have to learn how to navigate these situations. But yeah, no politician's gonna save me unless I have a great deal of political influence. But political influence takes, building economy. Building economy takes Black people, I'll use myself, takes me taking my business seriously and communicating and building coalition with other Black entrepreneurs. And it's up to me and people like us and the Black leaders in the world, not saying I'm a Black leader, but in the position I'm talking about, it's up to me to, in my sphere of influence, to take the lead on that and work with my sphere of influence. Obviously, the more celebrity you have, the more money you have, the larger your sphere of influence. Right now, my sphere of influence is in my conservative family and my household. So I take the lead in those spheres of influence, and build black influence, yeah, build black influence, and influence minds, because a lot of racism is in the heart, and you can't. I realize you can't shift the heart. That goes into another point. Let me talk about this. You know what's made me like this? Made me think more analytically when it comes to stuff like this, is because my in-laws and my whole side of a family are conservative people, Trump supporters, all that. And I love them. You've heard me say on here before, I love them dearly. And clearly, if you listen to this podcast, I'm progressive. I don't even say I'm a Democrat, even though I'm a Democrat. I like to say I'm progressive because I want to see more social justice. I want to see economic progress in the sense that we are shifting our system and making our system work for more people, as opposed to a bunch of people getting rich and, kind of, them thriving on the backs of people like me and my family and people who look like me. So I'm progressive. So social justice, economically, and then politically. When I say politically progressive, I think that we should take a look at this system and say, how do we make this system work for everybody? More people, because right now with the two-party system, we have either 50% of the people are going to be mad on this side, or 50% of the people are going to be mad on this side. That's not efficient. That's just not an efficient way. And that forces people to feel like they're pushed out. That forces people to feel like they're not represented. And what happens? You get a Trump. So I think it's time in 2020, it's a nice futuristic year. I think it's time to move forward with another, not structure, with more components. With more components. And for me as a progressive as well, it's like, look at other countries, look at what they're doing that is working, look at what they're doing that's not working. And there's nothing wrong with shifting our democracy to something more progressive, which scares the fuck out of conservative people, because then they're like, this country was built, but this country was also built when I was 3/5 of a man. So like, you know what I mean? Like, that argument doesn't hold water, Like, everybody who built this country was a slave owner. So I don't know if they projected that we would be in 2020 where we're fighting for equality still, and like, we had a black president. I don't think they had slaves. I don't think they were prepared for that. So with just off that precedent alone, I think it's, for me as a progressive, it's like, hey, how do we move this structure forward so it's serving more people, and fewer people feel less disenfranchised? And those are all very idealistic principles. It's like peace, love, progress, that's very idealistic. So I'm not expecting all those things to be met, but that's where I vote. I vote where I think some of those values will be met. And that happens to be with the Democratic Party. And really, the reason that usually goes that way is because that's where a lot of the intellect politically, it was like, oh, they're going to pull smart people in here. They're going to pull smart people. They're going to pull a more diverse group of people in here. And, I've only voted in 2 elections, though. I got to vote for Obama twice. In 2008, I was 18. That was the first person I was able to vote for. And then again in 12. But that's, as I developed my own political identity over the past 10 years, that's where I lean. Hold on 1 second, it's hot. For people who don't, we're in San Diego and it's morning and it is 65 degrees out. So that's why I have a sweater on. My house was cold, actually. Well, California cold. That's not necessarily cold, but Cali cold. But yeah, I lean more progressive. And my in-laws are more conservative. And I like these people. They're good people. And I'm a decent person. So just because you don't agree with me politically, I still can love you. So when I meet them at a family gathering, which we gather all the time, COVID, suck a dick. I'm just kidding. They don't care, so I don't care. You actually have, if you're under 34, you have more of a chance of getting hit by lightning than dying from COVID. Not all of them are under 34, but they don't care. So I guess send it. Hold on. Cold coffee. But when you get there, when you get to this family thing and they ask you how things going, you're not just gonna, I'm not fake, so I'm gonna say what's going on, but I'm gonna I'm gonna take my time, be impeccable with my word, and the goal is connectedness. The goal is connectedness because I like that person and I don't want to diminish you and fight you. I don't want to fight you and insult you, even though you fundamentally disagree with me on so many topics. I don't want to fight you. So I have to this is not checkers. We're playing chess. We're doing mental gymnastics. And my goal is to say, I'm going to meet you where you're at. And hopefully by meeting you where you're at, you respect me and, we kind of meet each other. So I had a conversation with a person in my family on the East Coast and just fundamentally disagreeing on how to solve these problems. The master's not going to save us. They're not. They're not going to save us. Will tolerance? I think from this movement, tolerance is gonna be in a different place. I've likened everything to veganism, right? Everybody was so annoyed about hearing about everybody being a vegan, but guess what? Now you can order vegan at almost every restaurant, and there's a vegan restaurant around the corner. So that's such a limiting way to view it, but that's kind of what it's like. Like more tolerance, and it's going to settle in the middle. And I think Black people, we're all going to be better for it. And white people are going to be better for it. And there's still going to be people who are mad as shit and people who are racist, and fuck them. They're still going to be like that. And you know what? So many racist people, they're not going to be like, you know what? I heard Eric talking on a podcast and I've changed my mind. No, it's in their hearts, man. That shit is evil. If you're racist like that, if you think other people are less than because of X, Y, and Z, you're a piece of shit. And you can't change evil like that. You know what I mean? I don't think I can. I don't think I'm changing your mind. But yeah, I try not to be dogmatic in my political leanings and what's going on right now, because I don't want to be religiously political. I don't want to be religiously pro-Black or religiously anti-cop. I just don't want to. And that seems like such an short-sighted way to view things. It seems like such a short-sighted way to view things. And it doesn't feel right to me. And I just have to be okay with feeling fine. Like, I think as a Black man, I've earned to feel the way I want to feel. I've had my existence questioned my entire life. I think I've earned the right to feel exactly how the fuck I want to feel. And then, if you're not exactly down with the narrative of the movement, quote unquote, if you're not exactly down with the narrative, then as soon as I say that, now my ethnicity is questioned, or my downness, how down am I, is questioned. It's like, yo, I'm gonna get called a nigga with a big word with the ER. I'm gonna get called that in very shortly. I know it's coming. If someone hasn't thought it already, just being around me. So I know it's coming. So you could say you're not Black enough, or you could say you're not white enough. You act white or whatever. You could say all that, but guess what? I'ma still be Black and still have to deal with all kinds of Black shit. So it's kind of like, I just don't want to be influenced by the group think. But I want to participate in the group. And I want to see, but I want to think critically in the sense that I want to see what y'all are about. And I want to include myself and get in where I fit in and see where my skills and talents can provide assistance. And I can be of service to the cause, but I'm not trying to be religious about it. It's, to be honest, I've been dealing with racist shit my entire life. I'm almost unfazed. I'm almost like, okay, so what are we doing? Because, what are we doing? You know what I mean? That leads into something else that people are really having a hard time with. And I think this is the super wokeness when it comes to abolishing the police, also defunding the police. I do agree. I definitely don't agree with abolishing the police. I don't want you to come if my house is getting robbed. I don't want you to come if someone takes my kid. I don't want you. I want the police. I want the police. So it's not abolish the police. That's fucking crazy. But when it comes to defunding the police have a lot of political power in many cities, especially democratically run cities, and the police budget goes up all the time. They have exorbitant amounts of money. Should police have a healthy pension, and should they be paid well? Absolutely. But do they need tanks and assault rifles? I don't think so. And by defunding the police, the school of thought I'm from is defund the police and invest in social programs. That means when, and community programs. So that means when there's a mentally ill person having a breakdown, yes, they may be a threat to their life and people's lives, but let's have someone de-escalate the situation who's prepared and qualified. Let's, with the homelessness issue, let's not just arrest homeless people. Let's actually, how about each of our, baller ass cities like San Diego, how about we actually put money in the right places and help our homeless problem? We have 10,000 homeless people here in San Diego. That's fucked. You know what I mean? Here's where I was fundamentally disagreeing with my family member. The problems in the Black community are not going to be solved by white people. They're not. And we can blanketly say, oh, it's because they're white. We could blanketly say that. And that very well could be the case. But what the fuck is next? And this is not victim blaming, because I've been a victim of, I've been chased out of neighborhoods, no niggers in Whitestone, and got chased out. Had to punch a dude in the face one time for the one time. Punched a lot of racists in the face in my life. Knocked a guy down the stairs. The cops were like, did you punch that guy? I was like, I sure did. And I'll go to jail for it. And he said, and he asked people around what happened. And they were like, yeah, he called them the big word with the ER. And he punched him in the face. And the cop was like, all right, go home. You know, the fist of God. I'm just kidding. But I definitely punch a racist in the face right now. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. But yeah, the issues in the Black community, I'm not victim blaming. But what's next? Do you think Joe Biden, Trump, fucking this person, that president, this candidate or that candidate, you think they're going to come save us? No, and people can't even openly say it's a thing. Obama couldn't even openly say it was a thing. He couldn't sit down and say, okay, now that I'm fucking president, we're going to sit down and have a real conversation about race in America. He couldn't even do that. And I don't think not that he didn't want to, but it's not the way it goes. It's too polarizing. It's too polarizing for people to even look at themselves and say, I'm racist. People, there's still, even with everything going on, people who are like, no, I'm not, and would never say that, but they're racist. They're ignorant by definition. They just don't know. They're not malicious. There's a lot of people I think most people aren't maliciously racist. I think most people are ignorantly racist. They just don't know. But so I'm one of my heroes. He's a hero of mine. Really, I use his meditation app and I listen to his podcast, Sam Harris. He's a public intellectual, focused on logic and ethics. He's not a contrarian based off the statistics and the science, but he's a contrarian based off of narrative. He has a opposing view of the narrative, and whether I agree emotionally with his perception of the narrative, he's still providing facts and data that I didn't know. You know what I mean? And that's important to take a look at. So let me preface this by saying this is going to be a bit controversial, but wait till the end. Wait till the end of what I say. So we are Black people. We are 13% of the population, and we are 50% of the crime. 50% of the crime. Also, we have we are stopped by police at a higher rate, but we are not killed by police at a higher rate. And we are actually not stopped by the police, but we have more aggressive encounters, but we're not killed by the police as much. So that goes against the narrative because, I believed that Black people were the only people getting killed by the cops. That's what you would think. And we're not. And again, this is not victim blaming. because the crime problem in Black neighborhoods, we have to have the truth and reconciliation to understand how we've gotten here. We didn't get, Black people are not inherently criminal or inherently bad. We've had 400 years, and there's a specific timeline. So this isn't abstract, but it's slavery, Black codes, Jim Crow, segregation and civil rights, crack epidemic of the 80s, mandatory minimums, mass incarceration, changing mandatory minimum sentencing for cocaine and crack cocaine by far further and deepeningly, making up words, criminalizing Black communities that way. So we got here through systems of oppression. It's systemic racism that got us here. In the Southern strategy, it was clearly stated, quote, the person, Lee Atwater, said we couldn't criminalize being Black and we couldn't criminalize being a hippie. So we wanted to tie Black people to drugs and hippies to drugs and convince Southern voters that they were tough on crime to fuck with, to shut down Blacks and hippies. It's very intentional. All this is very intentional. This is not so. But the point is, look where we are now, and do we think that, like, on, I think, one of the protest weekends, 97 people were shot in Chicago. 27 were murdered in one weekend. So, okay, so we're solving racism, blah, 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 blah. We're solving racism, but we still have these issues in our community. So my school of thought is that I'm not waiting for my master to solve these problems. Yes, I want passive racism to go away. I want systemic racism to go away. But this is where I say I have to have serious conversations with myself and thinking, how can I influence people in my community in San Diego, in my community in New York, to make it so we're not putting ourselves in situations to get shot and killed. But that's where I say that's going to take generations. And that's a difficult conversation to have. And that's against the narrative. It's not victim blaming. It's straight up, this is what's going on. We've gotten here through systemic racism and criminalization of Black people. We've gotten here, but now look what we have. We have broken homes. We have crime-filled neighborhoods. Not every Black neighborhood is crime-filled, not every brown neighborhood. There's plenty of affluent Black and brown neighborhoods. But in some big cities, there's terrible problems going on. And the systems that keep people, there's systems still in place that keep people of color in that cycle. That is the systemic racism that people are fighting against. But it's going to take us freeing ourselves. Or, and I can free myself and I can free my children and then influence a few people. Because, I'm not going to be president. They don't want ex-heroin addicts who are covered in tattoos to be president. But it's against the narrative. It's against the narrative. But you've heard on this podcast, you've heard me say hella times, personal responsibility. The kids who terrorized me as a kid, when I did my step work, I made amends to them. Not because I wanted them to like me, but because I wanted peace. And I allowed them to treat me that way. I kept hanging out. I kept coming back. It was like masochistic experience. And how did I get there? Are there things I was taught about myself that made me believe that was okay? Yes, that's the problem. The problem was not my fault, but the healing is my responsibility. The healing is my responsibility. And I think for people of color, healing is our responsibility. So let me summarize this into one thing. The systems of this country people like me and myself were not looked at as a whole human being. And those systems stayed in place for a long time. And now we're seeing, there's a direct timeline. Now we're seeing the results of that in communities like Chicago. We're seeing some cities are more segregated now than they were at any other time in our history. So we're seeing the effects of that years later, okay, so we're at this point where we're having some conversations about it, and there's some reform that's going to happen. Reform's going to happen, and I'm working with some people here to hopefully solidify the fact that there's a reform happening. So reform's going to happen. Some things are going to change. But okay, so the laws change. Are we still? Oh, is all the community issues that keep us in this situation, are they all going to go away? No. So that's when we have to ask ourselves, how do we want to heal from this? So that I wrote a post about it, and everybody was like, yeah, healing. I think I say shit and people can't even wrap their fucking heads around it. White people who were complicit and said they knew that racism was real and just said, that's not happening to me. They're finally realizing, and they need healing of their own, heal their hearts, and Black people, we need healing too. I know I need healing. That's why I'm saying this, because I need healing. The things I allowed myself to experience and to fall into, because of what I was taught. But and those are systems and belief systems that loom. They're a mist. They're in the ether, those systems, and those need to be broken. But they're so abstract. That's the thing. Where you say where you just blanketly blame white people. That's so abstract. We need something tangible. So I just got myself canceled probably, but I don't think that was bad. I'm not going to completely absolve myself. That's for me. This is all projection. It's all a projection. If you listen to this far, it's all a projection. This is me saying, I'm not going to just blame white people. I'm going to show up the fuck anyway. And I'm going to, do the things and participate with my community and connect with my community to make things shift for my children. But I'm going to take responsibility. I got to do what I got to do anyway. I got to show up anyway. And that's challenging for all of us to accept, but I'm definitely not victim blaming, because I was a victim. I don't blame myself for that. I actually really work on forgiving myself for what yeah, man. So that's difficult to talk about, and it's against the narrative. But I'm trying to use my mind. And I'm trying to think what do I need? What do I need as a Black man? What do I need? And I think we need healing. And I think healing takes honesty and humility. I think it takes humility to say, I'm fucked up. I understand how I got here. We need to understand when people ask me what do we do? Get to know us, get to know my history, get to know how we got here. So when you see neighborhoods like Chicago, say, oh, fuck, the system's been designed for these people to fail. We've been sent, it's intentional, and now we've gotten the result. You've gotten the intended result where we're just at war with each other. Okay, so get to know how we got here, but this is why defunding the police, I support it. And this doesn't mean abolish the police. I think that's so crazy when people say abolish the police. You're tripping. I don't want a social worker to come when my house is being robbed. I have kids in my house. Fuck out of here. And I don't want everybody to I don't want a gun. I don't want one, but that's a whole nother thing. Some people are going to be like, bleh, bleh, bleh. I don't want one. I'm too volatile. I don't like the idea of having a thing that can kill me in the house. I don't like it. But yeah, I'm about defunding the police though, and redistributing funds in communities. Maybe one day we'll solve the homeless problem, and like I've said ad nauseum, changing communities of color is going to take generations, and they're going to say, look at Minneapolis a year from now. Yeah, that's not a good enough time to tell, and that's short-sighted. That's the stuff that is going to stop this, stop the momentum. Because people think it's going to stop, but we didn't get here in a generation. We didn't get here in a year. We didn't get here 5 years. We got here over decades, centuries. century's 100 years, right? It's been 100 years of fucking nonsense, you know? More than, it's been more than 100 years of nonsense, so it's going to take a lot of time. So everybody's going to criticize it. And what we can use as an example is Portugal. Portugal decriminalized drugs, and there was a huge spike in drug use. Huge spike in drug use. Let's look up, when did Portugal decriminalize drugs? Oh, I don't have service. Fuck out of here. Yeah, but they did, it was years ago, probably 20 years ago. And there was a huge spike in drug use. And guess what? After that spike, it evened out, and they started treating drug addicts as opposed to criminalizing them. And they started treating it as a public health issue as opposed to a criminal issue. Because, being a drug addict is not a criminal issue. Being a drug addict is not a criminal issue. You think of someone with cancer. Read the doctor's opinion in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It is an illness, allergy of the body, obsession of the mind. That's why you say, why can't he just stop? Because he can't fucking stop. So stop locking those people up and open up public health facilities. So we had Gabby on last week. That podcast drops right now. So by the time this podcast drops, that one will have already dropped. But county-run, where do you find Black people in recovery? In county-run and state-run facilities. Not efficient. There's waiting lists. When someone says they need to get sober, they need to get in the treatment that day. So that's that. When I say defund the police, put more funding into public health services, put more funding into education. Also, changing the education system where where people are taught this history. Where people are taught this fucking history, man. So I probably fucked up a lot today, but we're not going to edit it. I'll ask Matt when I get out of here how badly I fucked up. But yeah, I've had to learn I'm emotional about it because it was traumatic for me. All this is traumatic for me. When I moved to San Diego, I've been in San Diego a year and a half, and this guy was in a parking lot and he was doing something stupid. He was doing a drug deal in the parking lot. And I said, yo, get out of here with that. And he was like, no niggers in PB. And was ready to fight me. Was ready to fight me. Crazy. That was 2 years ago. Still trying to chase Black people out of neighborhoods. You know what I mean? So it's emotional. It's emotional, and it's traumatic for people. And it's not traumatic in the sense that I weep. It's traumatic. They're microaggressions. I hate that term, but they're microaggressions. They chip at you and they change the way you think about the world. Those things are valuable. But I don't want to be emotional in trying to navigate this chess game. I spend so much time around conservative people and white people. I have to navigate it, smart. And when you get emotional, moot point. You lost it. Once you start insulting each other, now it's over. Now all your ground is gone. All your ground is gone. But I think this is a time for Black people. We need to have important conversations with each other and in coalition and say okay, what are we doing? And I know, but that's what I'm already doing that with people. I have meetings every other week with other people in the community here, trying to organize and think of okay, what are our demands? Who can we align with? What gatherings can we have? Events can we have? And things like that. And I just sit back and listen a lot of the time because I want to figure out where my gifts fit. My gifts fit. I'm not trying to play point guard. Tell me how I could be of service. So actually, those are some of the guests we have coming up. We have a astrophysicist coming in. We have the founder of Black Expressions here in San Diego. Leaders in the LGBT community coming in. Black SD Magazine is coming in next week. We got people coming in. We're having conversations. We're getting dialogue going. We're keeping the momentum going. And we are gathering agendas, and we're saying, okay, so with our influence as people, as business owners, as people who have influence in our own spheres, how can we come together, large in our, grow our sphere of influence, and then get our agenda passed. That's the route I'm taking. I want to stay away from the wokeness. I want to stay away. It's going to get me in trouble. It's going to get us in trouble. We got to be careful. We have to be careful. So what about personal life? Oh, like I said, I'm washed up. Man. I don't got the sauce anymore. But the thing is, I don't need the sauce like I need it, like I used to. So, and if you didn't listen to Dr. Carly's podcast, Science, it was crazy. And let me just plug her one more time. The blood work she did, she provided a full treatment plan, supplementation, very specific, and prescriptions for the exact dosages of supplementation I should be taking. Exact eating style. I should be following more Mediterranean diet based off of my inflammatory markers, based off of, my lipids and my blood sugar. She told me everything I need to know. Now it's up to me to enact it and like put it into action. But super dope, like super, super, super dope. Getting my hormones back together. I don't feel like myself. I don't like it. But you got to pay attention to your hormone, pay attention to your health, and it's one thing. There's a lot of personal trainers I know who think they're paying attention to the health, but they're not. So be about it. For all you competitors out there and fitness influencers, be about it and get your blood work done. Know if you're healthy, and then teach clients, encourage clients to get their blood work done before you start writing programs. I don't force everybody to get their blood work done before I write a program, but I encourage it. We don't have to guess. We don't have to guess which style of eating is going to work for you. We don't have to fucking guess, man. Science. But yeah, man. Matt, how long was that? How long are we going? 43 minutes. Look how fucking easy that shit is. But I definitely got myself canceled for sure. Definitely fucked myself over. But you know what? We out here. So let me walk it back really quick. I just want to take personal responsibility for the things that I'm doing, and the healing that I need to take on. Things I was taught about myself, the lack of love that I give myself, and connect with people and build influence. But you know what? There's hella ways to be in this movement. And some people yell, be emotional. But I try to avoid that because, playing these chess games with people, I can't get emotional about it. I can't, gotta think. And it's about humanity. I need to go to talk to the human parts of people. I need to get with the human parts and feel that, I need to feel the human parts. So yeah, man, we're going to wrap it up. Matt, you want to play me out? We're out of here. Peace.
Vultures circling above, they all in a piece, but they don't even know my name. Won't get even the swipe for the train. Cloudy, ride to the airport, gotta get right for the plane. Custom smell like kush, wifey hand in a tish. Yes, and I got no shame. Some line to shine, with a broke if you got no game. Waking up next to his scats, can't go home to a dame. Nah, tell them sell to the same.